Hi everyone, welcome to Was I in a Cult Part 36. So in the last video I got really emotional and I was talking about how when I found the book that Susan left in my car and I started reading it and it just started to make me feel all kinds of things and like basically address the fact that I knew at that point that I had developed feelings for Susan and I wasn't sure what to do with them other than repress them and not act upon them. So basically I just continued to do that for as long as I could. I just tried to change my focus. Basically I was just like, you know what, I just need to focus on my relationship with Christ and I just need to seek God more and read the Bible more, pray more, fast. And so I had been fasting and praying, you know, that God would just take these desires and thoughts away from me and any feelings that I had for Susan or anyone in that way. I wanted it to just go away and I just got closer and closer to God, and like it seemed like the more closer I got to God, those feelings just became more prominent. What I don't really understand is why that my mind was so set on not being queer that the more and more I prayed to God to reveal my true identity and, you know, to mold me into who I was in Christ, the more and more I felt these feelings. And I didn't think, oh, well, maybe God's trying to tell me it's because I'm queer. And that's the way I was created. And I was loved just the same. But no, because the church said it was wrong, I just thought, no matter what, these men in the church told me that this was wrong and that the Bible tells me this, but I didn't really know how to like have a thought outside of my church. Like my group literally just dictated to me what my thoughts and feelings should be, and they were supposed to be towards men according to the church that I was in. Of course, the Christian church that I was involved in, being very evangelical, very fundamentalist, very conservative, was very much a male-dominated church that believed in the traditional family of a man marries a woman and then they have kids and reproduce and then live happily ever after. Okay, but that's not what God taught. That's what the church taught. I read the Bible for myself and I was like, even Jesus himself never even said anything about homosexuality. First of all, the word homosexuality wasn't even a word when the Bible was written. So I don't know how they get the word in there now. Okay, so back to my actual story, because I'm not going to get into any arguments about theology. I went to seminary and studied the Bible very specifically, and I can interpret them the way I can interpret them, and it might be different than the way others do, but really, like, who really knows exactly what the Bible means, and who really knows? I just can't even go there right now, so I'm not going to. Okay, so back to my actual story, because I'm not going to get into a theological debate. Okay, so in the last video I was talking about how I finished reading that book that Susan left in my car, and I wrote as many notes as I could and just wrote all the scriptures and everything that that book had in it that I felt was relevant to my situation. And the next time I saw her, I was like, oh, you forgot your book in the car, here you go. And I gave it back to her, but I was like, the feeling that I had was like, I was so embarrassed that I had I was like embarrassed, thinking like, is she gonna be embarrassed that she left that book in the car, and I'm just gonna pretend like I didn't read it, I didn't really look at it. I think I handed it to her like with the cover like turned around backwards, so you couldn't really read the, you know, what it said, like on the front cover. And so it was just this awkward feeling of like, here's your book. Like, I was embarrassed, and I don't know if she was embarrassed, but I was like embarrassed for her. And like, she had no shame or embarrassment about it. I don't know why I did, and I think it was just because I was hiding the fact that I was having feelings for her. So I think it was just like my own internal shame. I remember like having the butterflies every time I was with her, and you know, like I always just looked forward to the end of the night when she was gonna go home, and we would either give each other a hug or hold hands and pray together. And that was just like everything to me, and all the feelings that I felt. And I was just like, I remember that I had a picture of her, and I used to put it up in my bedroom, and just every night I would always just look at it. I had it in a little frame, and I would just put it up there on my nightstand. And I think at some point in time it ended up like on my headboard area, because I wanted her close to me when I slept. It was just, I went through so much like feelings and emotions that I was like falling in love with this person. It was literally like my first crush. I mean, because like I never ever obsessed about a guy like that, like all through my teenage years. Like, this was the first time I ever like had a picture of someone and wanted to look at it and wanted to see them all the time and be with them all the time. This was like the first time I ever felt those feelings. It was definitely the first time I ever put a picture in a frame of a woman and just put it on my headboard area. This went on for quite some time. I mean, I think it was probably a good, like, at least a year or so, that we were just friends and getting to know each other and getting close like that. And nothing happened except for inside of me. And then one day the church was talking about a crusade that they were going to go on. I know I don't have a lot of time left in this video, so I'm pretty sure I won't be able to go into detail about this. But this is where a clear turning point in my life happens. Okay, so I only have a couple minutes left. I just realized that when I say crusade, I talk about it as though like you guys know what I'm talking about, but some people don't even know what that is, so let me explain. Like, a crusade for us was when we got together as a very large group and did a massive movement of evangelism in the streets, right? So like there was a big, large evangelistic ministry that was well known in the Pentecostal community that was going to be having a very large crusade, and they were like an extension of our ministry. It's like the person who founded that ministry was sort of a spiritual father to the pastor that I was under. So they were going to have a very large crusade in Colorado. And I remember my friend Erica telling me about it. I think she was the person that told me, because her leader Diane, which was the same Diane I was telling you about before, that was Sandra's disciple that didn't like me very much or try to get me in trouble. They were going. I didn't really want to go because I didn't really want to hang out with them. But then I found out that Susan was going. And that's when I decided I wanted to go too. The whole women's home was going to be going. I couldn't go with them, but I could go there and be in the same place as she was. And also, like I said before, evangelism was always my thing, so it was something I wanted to do, you know, because I loved evangelism too. And I got to spend more time with Susan. I tried to check my motives. I was like, am I going just because of Susan? But then I prayed about it and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, there's this opportunity to reach people and I want to take it.